Moonfall, Season 1, Episode 1, Awaken, New York City, September 12th, Tuesday 2023. The episode opens with a panoramic view of the bustling streets of New York City, the towering skyscrapers casting long shadows in the golden hues of the setting sun. The city hums with energy as people go about their daily lives, unaware of the hidden world that exists within their midst. Amidst the vibrant cityscape, we zoom in on Silvermoon High School, a prestigious institution where the lives of our main characters converge. The camera glides through the hallways, capturing snippets of conversations, laughter, and youthful exuberance. Lockers slam shut, and the scent of anticipation fills the air. We are then introduced to Ninetails-WOLF, a 16-year-old sophomore high school student with an earnest smile and a glimmer of determination in his eyes. Ninetails navigates the crowded corridors, his basketball sneakers squeaking against the polished floors. He carries his basketball close to his chest. As Ninetails enters the gymnasium, the scene transforms into a flurry of activity. The basketball court comes alive with the sound of bouncing balls, the scuffing of sneakers, and the rhythmic swish of the net as shots are made. Coach Stevens barks instructions, his voice commanding attention amidst the cacophony. Ninetails joins his teammates for warm-up drills, his movements fluid yet filled with an underlying desire to prove himself. Despite his determination, he struggles to stand out on the court, his skills overshadowed by the natural talent of his teammates. But he refuses to be discouraged, his spirit unwavering. After practice, Ninetails approaches his locker, whispers beginning to spread like wildfire about the new transfer student. Meanwhile, Sorvent J. Toro, Ninetails' best friend, approaches him with a mischievous grin. Sorvent is a tech-savvy teenager with a knack for finding humor in every situation. He has been Ninetails' confidant since they were kids, always offering support and a light-hearted perspective. Adrian Crittenden, another close friend of Ninetails and Sorvent, overhears their discussion about the new transfer student arriving today and joins in. Unbeknownst to Ninetails, Lisa Rodriguez, a talented artist and classmate, watches him from a distance. Her heart flutters as she observes him with a longing gaze. Lisa has harbored a secret crush on Ninetails for as long as she can remember. The bell rings, signaling the start of class, and Ninetails gathers his belongings and heads to his first period, history. As he enters the classroom, he takes a seat near the back, his mind still preoccupied with thoughts of the new transfer student. Ariel Medina, another close friend of Ninetails, joins him and takes the seat next to him, sporting a mischievous grin. Ariel leans in and says, "You think the new student will be arriving today? I can't wait to see who it is, bro." Ninetails nods in agreement, his curiosity piqued. The classroom gradually fills with students, their voices fading into hushed whispers as Mr. Anderson, the history teacher, enters the room. He greets the class with a warm smile and begins the lesson, delving into the intriguing stories of past civilization. The classroom door swings open, and all eyes turn towards the entrance. In walks Daniela Jolene, an enchanting figure draped in an air of mystery. Daniela's entrance causes a momentary pause in the lesson as everyone's attention is captivated by her beauty and presence. Her silky, long dark hair cascades down her shoulders, and her piercing green eyes seem to hold untold secrets. She scans the room, her gaze briefly meeting Ninetails before moving on. Mr. Anderson quickly regains control of the class, introducing Daniela as their new classmate. As she takes a seat near the front, whispers of curiosity ripple through the room. Ninetails' heart skips a beat, his curiosity further ignited by this enigmatic newcomer. He steals glances at Daniela throughout the history lesson, intrigued by her every move. Dominic Lee, another student known for his academic prowess, eagerly joins the conversation, seeking to impress Daniela with his knowledge. There is an air of sophistication about her, as if she possesses a wisdom beyond her years. As the class comes to an end, the bell rings once again, signaling the end of class, and Ninetails reluctantly tears his gaze away from Daniela. He gathers his belongings and follows the flow of students into the hallway, where whispers of Daniela's arrival grow loud. Ninetails joins his friends in the hallway, Sorvent, Ariel, Adrian, and Jesus, Ariel's brother, who have been observing the interaction. Among the sea of faces, our attention is drawn to Daniela Jolene, a 16-year-old sophomore transfer student with an ethereal beauty that turns heads wherever she goes. She glides through the hallways, her presence commanding attention. Whispers ripple through the crowd as Daniela's arrival creates a buzz of curiosity and intrigue. As they make their way to their next class, geometry, the corridors buzz with whispers about Daniela and the air of mystery that surrounds her. But Jill can't help but wonder what secrets lie beneath her captivating facade. But Jill and his friend Sorvent and Ariel find themselves in the geometry classroom, the excitement and curiosity about Daniela still lingering in their minds. The room is filled with the familiar scent of pencil shavings and the sound of desks scraping against the tiled floor as students settle into their seats. Mr. Ramirez, the geometry teacher, walks in with a stack of textbooks under his arm and a friendly smile on his face. He greets the class, his warm tone filling the room. "Good morning, everyone. I hope you're ready for another exciting math lesson today." But Jill takes his usual seat, still unable to shake off the thoughts of Daniela. He notices that Dominic Lee, his rival and fellow classmate, has also taken a seat nearby. Dominic seems engrossed in his textbook, his focus unwavering. As the class begins, Mr. Ramirez dives into the lesson, explaining complex equations and theorems. But Jill's attention shifts between the math problems on the board and the occasional stolen glances he shares with Daniela, who sits a few rows ahead. Ariel, always eager to lighten the mood, leans over to Bajil and whispers, "Do you think Daniela is good at geometry? Maybe she'll help us solve these equations." Bajil chuckles softly, appreciating his friend's attempt to inject humor into the situation. Then Sorvent leans in and adds, "Yeah, maybe she's a math prodigy or something. That would be impressive." But Jill nods, a mixture of curiosity and anticipation building within him. He can't help but wonder what talents and abilities Daniela possesses beyond her captivating presence. The thought of collaborating with her on geometry problems or any other endeavor fills him with a sense of excitement and intrigue. Lost in thought, but Jill is startled when Mr. Ramirez poses a challenging equation to the class. He furrows his brow, attempting to solve it, but finds himself struggling. Glancing at Daniela, he notices her focused expression, her pen gliding effortlessly across the paper as she confidently solves the problem. Impressed, Bajil gathers his courage and leans over to Daniela. "Hey, Daniela," he whispers, hoping to strike up a conversation. "I couldn't help but notice how well you're doing with these equations. Do you have any tip?" Yet, Daniela remains distant, focused on her math problems and adapting to her new surroundings and concealing her true nature, seemingly oblivious to Bajil's attempt to strike up a conversation. Her attention is fully absorbed in the task at hand, and she continues to solve the equations with precision and ease. Bajil, feeling a bit disheartened but determined, decides to focus on his own work and tackle the math problems to the best of his ability. He knows he can't let his curiosity about Daniela distract him from his study. Meanwhile, Mr. Ramirez continues the lesson, occasionally pausing to ask questions and engage the students. Dominic, sitting nearby, eagerly raises his hand and answers each question with precision and confidence. As the class progresses, Mr. Ramirez moves on to more complex concepts, guiding the students through the intricacies of the lesson. Bajil occasionally steals glances at Daniela, admiring her intelligence and skill in solving the math problems. He realizes that she is indeed talented in mathematics, and the admiration he holds for her only grows stronger. After the class ends, Bajil gathers his belongings and joins his friends in the hallway. Sorvent, Ariel, Adrian, and Jesus have been eagerly waiting for him, eager to discuss their observations and thoughts about Daniela. Sorvent grins mischievously and nudges Bajil. "So, did you get a chance to talk to the math prodigy?" Bajil shakes his head, a tinge of disappointment evident in his expression. "No, she was really focused on the problems. I didn't want to disturb her. But she's definitely impressive." Ariel chimes in, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "I heard someone mention that Daniela is not only good at math, but also excels in other subjects. It's like she's a walking encyclopedia." Adrian nods in agreement. "Yeah, I've heard similar things. People seem to be drawn to her, intrigued by her intelligence and mysterious aura. It's like she holds a world of knowledge within her." Jesus joins the conversation and adds, "Hey guys, I overheard some students talking about Daniela, comes from very high-class, wealthy family." As the group continues discussing the upcoming basketball game and Daniela's various talents, Lisa, who has been quietly observing from a distance, approaches them with a shy smile. "Hey, guys. I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Do you think Daniela would be interested in joining the art club? I'd love to get to know her better and maybe collaborate on some projects." Bajil looks at Lisa and nods appreciatively. "That's a great idea, Lisa. Daniela's artistic talents could make a valuable addition to the art club. You should definitely approach her and extend an invitation. Lisa blushes and nods, gathering her confidence. I will. Thanks, Bajil. The bell rings, signaling the start of next class. Bajil and Daniela find themselves in 4 shared courses: history, math, art/drawing, and P.E. Their paths intertwine, presenting numerous opportunities for them to interact and forge a deeper connection. On Wednesday, the day after Daniela's arrival and Bajil's initial encounter with her, and looks forward to their shared classes, eager to learn more about her and perhaps even strike up a conversation. The atmosphere at Silvermoon High School is still buzzing with excitement and curiosity about the enigmatic transfer student. Bajil, along with his friends Sorvent, Ariel, Adrian, and Jesus, find themselves sharing several classes with Daniela: history, math, art/drawing, and P.E. Meanwhile, Bajil's friend Lisa, who has developed a crush on him, gathers her courage and approaches the group to propose that Daniela join the art club. Lisa sees this as an opportunity to get closer to Bajil and collaborate on artistic projects. Bajil supports the idea, encouraging Lisa to extend an invitation to Daniela. Lisa gathers her courage to approach Daniela during art/drawing class. With Bajil's encouragement, Lisa sees an opportunity to interact with Daniela, a friendly smile, recognizing her talent and hoping to foster a connection by suggesting that she join the art club. She believes it could be a chance for them to bond over their shared passion for art. Daniela, pleasantly surprised by the invitation, agrees to check it out, appreciating Lisa's warm gesture. A new face enters the room. It's Zach O'Brien, the basketball player on the same team with Bajil and Dominic, joining them in art/drawing class. He takes a seat near the back, displaying a talent for sketching that catches the attention of the art teacher and his classmates. As the art/drawing class progresses, Zach becomes increasingly intrigued by Daniela's exceptional artistic talents. He can't help but admire the intricate details and the unique perspective she brings to her work. Her creativity captivates him, and he finds himself drawn not only to her skills but also to her inner beauty. Observing Bajil stealing glances at Daniela, Zach notices the spark of interest in his eyes. A wave of jealousy washes over Zach, fueling the rivalry between them. He can't bear the thought of Bajil potentially winning Daniela's attention and affection. Bajil, aware of Zach's growing rivalry and jealousy, finds himself torn between his own admiration for Daniela. He notices the subtle tension between them and realizes that their shared interest in Daniela has become a point of contention. Determined to outshine each other, they intensified their efforts meticulously with their artworks on their canvas project. Bajil and Zach artwork takes shape. They both take a quick glance at each other and whispers spread throughout the classroom. The other students can't help but notice their intense focus and the fiery determination in their eyes. As if the art room itself has become the battleground for their rivalry. As the whispers of envy and competition fill the art/drawing class, Lisa, with her perceptive nature, becomes aware of the underlying dynamics. Sensing the brewing conflict, she decides to intervene, determined to restore harmony among her classmates. She knows that the rivalry between Bajil and Zach is not healthy for anyone involved, especially considering their shared interest in Daniela. Determined to defuse the situation, she approaches Bajil and Zach, who are both engrossed in their artworks. She stands between them, catching their attention. "Hey, guys," Lisa begins, her voice gentle but firm. "This rivalry is only causing more harm than good. It's time to put aside your differences and find a way to coexist peacefully." Bajil looks at Lisa, a mix of frustration and understanding in his eyes. He knows that his competition with Zach has been fueled by jealousy and insecurity. While he doesn't consider Zach a friend, he realizes that Lisa is right. Zach, initially defensive, takes a moment to process Lisa's words. He recognizes the truth in what she's saying and understands that his actions have contributed to the toxic atmosphere. He sees the necessity of finding a resolution. Lisa continues, her voice gentle but persuasive. "Look, guys, Daniela deserves to be in an environment where she feels comfortable and respected. It's time to let go of this rivalry and start focusing on creating a positive atmosphere for everyone. Can you find a way to put your differences aside and move forward?" Bajil and Zach exchange hesitant glances, contemplating Lisa's words. They both realize that their actions have been self-destructive. With a sigh, Bajil extends a reluctant hand towards Zach, a silent invitation for peace. Zack stares at Bajil's hand for a moment, his pride warring with the desire to make amends. Finally, he reaches out and firmly shakes Bajil's hand. It's not the beginning of a friendship, but rather a truce out of necessity. Lisa's eyes light up with a sense of relief as she witnesses the gesture. "Thank you," she says sincerely. "This is the first step toward creating a better environment for everyone. Let's focus on supporting each other instead of tearing each other down." As the art class resumes, Bajil and Zack work side by side in relative silence. Lisa continues to bridge the gap between them, gently nudging towards each other a more positive interaction. By the end of the art class, Bajil and Zack may not be best friends. They understand that their actions have consequences and that it's possible to coexist peacefully. As the bell rings, signaling the end of the art class, Bajil, Zack, and Lisa share a brief smile of acknowledgement. They have taken the first steps towards creating a more harmonious environment, one where Daniela can feel welcomed. Their rivalry will continue on art class. PE and the basketball team, along with Dominic Lee art class, comes to an end. Bajil gathers his belongings and joins his friends Sorvent, Ariel, Adrian, and Jesus, who have gathered in the hallway. They seem deep in conversation, their voices filled with excitement and curiosity about Danielle. Bajil approaches the group, catching snippets of their discussion about the enigmatic transfer student. He hears Sorvent mentioning how Lisa seems particularly interested in Daniela, drawing a connection to Bajil's own growing fascination with her. The thought sparks a mix of emotions within Bajil, making him both nervous and intrigued. Curiosity gets the better of him, and Bajil decides to join in the conversation. "Hey, guys, what's all the talk about?" he asks, feigning nonchalance while secretly hoping to gather more information about Daniela. Ariel, always the observant one, notices Bajil's sudden interest and grins mischievously. "Ah, Bajil, caught your attention, didn't she?" he teases, nudging Bajil playfully. Bajil blushes slightly but quickly recovers. "Well, maybe she did. I mean, she's new, and there's something intriguing about her," he admits, trying to downplay his interest. Adrian chimes in, a playful glint in his eyes. "Oh, Bajil, you're not the only one captivated by her. Lisa seems quite taken with Daniela as well," he reveals, causing Bajil's heart to skip a beat. Bajil's gaze shifts to Lisa, who is engaged in an animated conversation with Jesus nearby. He watches her closely, noticing a certain sparkle in her eyes whenever Daniela's name is mentioned. A mix of emotions floods through Bajil: curiosity, excitement. Unable to contain his curiosity any longer, Bajil approaches Lisa after she finishes her conversation with Jesus. "Hey, Lisa," he starts, trying to sound casual. "I couldn't help but notice that you and Daniela seem to have hit it off. Are you interested in her?" Lisa's face lights up with a mixture of surprise and anticipation. She hadn't expected Bajil to bring up the topic so directly. "Well, yeah," she replies, a shy smile playing on her lips. "She's amazing, and we share a lot in common. But what about you, Bajil? I've seen you stealing glances at her during class." Bajil's cheeks flush slightly as he nervously runs a hand through his hair. "I won't deny it. There's something about Daniela that intrigues me." Lisa's face flushes, and she looks slightly taken aback by the directness of Bajil's question. She hesitates for a moment, then gathers her courage to speak. "Well, Bajil," she says, her voice filled with a mix of nervousness and sincerity, "there's someone I find intriguing, but I haven't told them yet." Bajil's curiosity piques even more, and he leans in closer, his eyes filled with anticipation. "Who is it, Lisa? Do I know them?" Lisa's smile grows wider, and she places a reassuring hand on Bajil's arm. She takes a deep breath and looks directly into Bajil's eyes. "Bajil, I want to be honest with you. I'm bisexual, and there's a part of me that's drawn to Daniela. But there's also another person I've had feelings for, someone closer to me than I expected." Bajil's eyes widen in surprise and his heart skips a beat. He tries to conceal his excitement, but it's difficult. "Lisa, thank you for opening up to me. I appreciate your honesty." She smiles warmly, relieved by Bajil's understanding response. "Thank you, Bajil. I just wanted to be upfront with you. Our friendship means a lot to me, and I hope we can continue to support each other no matter what. Don't worry, our friendship means a lot to me too, and I wouldn't want anything to ruin it either. Let's just see how things unfold and support each other, okay? Bajil nods, a mixture of emotions swirling within him. He realizes that the dynamic between him, Lisa, and Daniela has become even more complex. After the art class ended, Bajil and his friends, Lisa, Daniela, and their rivals Dominic Lee and Zach O'Brien made their way to their next classes, then PE. As they entered the gymnasium, the lively atmosphere filled with the sounds of laughter and the squeaking of sneakers on the polished floor. Bajil's friends, Sorvent, Ariel, Adrian, and Jesus, greeted him with friendly banter, eager to catch up on the latest developments. They couldn't help but be curious about Daniela and Lisa, sensing a newfound connection between them. Lisa, still contemplating whether to reveal her feelings for Bajil, kept her thoughts to herself for the time being. As the students gathered near the bleachers, the PE teacher, Coach Johnson, called out for them to form teams for a game of basketball. Bajil and his friends eagerly grouped together, their camaraderie evident as they strategized and shared playful jabs. On the opposite side, Dominic and Zach on the same team, their rivalry towards Bajil extending beyond history and art class. They eyed Bajil and his friends, their competitive spirits igniting as they sought to outshine each other. Lisa, Daniela, and the rest of the class dispersed, forming different teams and joining the game. Lisa, being athletically inclined, showed her skills on the court, impressing her teammates and catching the attention of others, including Bajil and Daniela. As the game progressed, Bajil couldn't help but notice Lisa's talent and athleticism. He admired her dedication and the way she effortlessly blended into the team, showcasing her competitive spirit. He felt a sense of pride watching her play, even though he was aware that his own attention was divided due to his growing interest in Daniela. Daniela, on the other hand, was drawn to Bajil's enthusiasm and natural athleticism. She couldn't help but be captivated by his passion for the game and the way he effortlessly led his team. The chemistry between them was palpable, even in the midst of the fast-paced game. Meanwhile, Dominic and Zach, both determined to prove their worth, engaged in a heated back-and-forth on the court. Their competitive nature fueled their actions as they vied for dominance, occasionally catching Bajil's attention. However, his focus gradually shifted back to the game and the dynamics unfolding among his friends. As the final buzzer sounded, signaling the end of the game, the class dispersed, sweaty but exhilarated from the intense physical activity. Bajil's team emerged victorious, their cheers filling the gymnasium. Bajil approached Lisa, a smile playing on his lips. "You were amazing out there," he complimented her, his voice filled with genuine admiration. Lisa blushed, grateful for the praise, but still unsure about revealing her feelings for him. Meanwhile, Daniela joined them, her eyes shining with excitement. "That was an intense game. You guys played really well," she said, looking at Bajil and Lisa in turn. The connection between them was undeniable, and a faint spark of interest flickered in Daniela's eyes. As the group gathered their belongings and prepared to leave the gymnasium, the interactions between Bajil, Lisa, and Daniela held a sense of possibility and intrigue. Jesus and Adrian approached Bajil, Daniela, and Lisa, their faces beaming with excitement. "Hey, guys!" Jesus exclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious. "How about we all chill after school? Let's grab some Chinese food and hang out. We can talk about the big basketball game happening tomorrow." Adrian nodded in agreement, adding, "Yeah, it'll be a great opportunity for us to bond as a group and support our friends on the team. Bajil, you've been working hard, and we want to show our support." Bajil smiled appreciatively at his friend's suggestion. He felt a sense of gratitude for their unwavering support and friendship. "That sounds like a plan," he replied. "I'd love to hang out and grab some amazing food together." Daniela, intrigued by the prospect of spending more time with the group, eagerly joined in. "Count me in too. It'll be a great chance for me to get to know everyone better and cheer for our team tomorrow." Lisa, though a bit nervous, couldn't resist the opportunity to spend more time with Bajil and Daniela. She mustered her courage and said, "I'm in as well." It'll be fun to support the team and enjoy some good food together. After the game in PE class, Zach mustered up his courage and approached Daniela in the hallway. His heart raced as he prepared to ask her out, hoping for a positive response. However, as he mustered his words, Daniela rejected his advance. "I appreciate your interest, Zach, but I'm not interested. I hope you understand." Zach's pride took a hit, and he felt a surge of jealousy and disappointment. Unable to contain his curiosity, he blurted out, "Do you like Bajil?" Daniela paused for a moment, a flicker of emotion crossing her face. She didn't deny it, but she didn't confirm it either. "Bajil is a great guy and a good friend," she replied diplomatically. "Right now, I'm focused on getting to know everyone and enjoying my time with everyone." Zach's heart sank as he realized the unspoken truth. He nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. "I understand," he muttered, feeling a mix of jealousy and frustration. As the day progresses, the students continue to discuss Daniela and her remarkable talents. Rumors circulate about her coming from a wealthy family, adding to the intrigue surrounding her. With the plan set, the group of friends continued their day, eagerly looking forward to their after-school hangout. The remainder of the day seemed to pass by in a blur as anticipation for the basketball game grew. Finally, the last bell rang, signaling the end of the school day. Bajil, Daniela, Lisa, Jesus, Adrian, Ariel, and Sorvent met up near the school entrance, ready to embark on their post-school adventure. As the group of friends made their way to the Chinese restaurant, Jesus couldn't contain his excitement over what he had witnessed in the hallway between Zach and Daniela. He eagerly approached his brother, Ariel, and began recounting the encounter in a hushed tone. "Ariel, you won't believe what just happened," Jesus whispered, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Zach approached Daniela and got rejected so harshly. It was brutal. Ariel's eyebrows shot up in surprise, his curiosity piqued. "No way. What did she say?" Jesus leaned in closer, his voice filled with amusement. "She shut him down, man. She made it clear that she wasn't interested and put him in his place. It was epic." They decided to head to a nearby Chinese restaurant known for its delicious food and cozy atmosphere. The group settled into their booth, the conversation buzzing with excitement. As the topic turned to the events of the hallway, Lisa couldn't help but express her curiosity. "So, Daniela, what really happened between you and Zach?" she asked, a hint of intrigue in her voice. Daniela's expression turned cold, her eyes narrowing with a touch of disdain. "Let's just say that Zach's advances were met with a dose of reality," she replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I made it clear that I have no interest in someone like him." Her words hung in the air, a palpable sense of finality enveloping the table. The group exchanged glances, a mixture of surprise and admiration for Daniela's straightforwardness. Bajil couldn't help but inject a touch of sarcasm into the discussion. "Well, I must say, today has been quite eventful," he remarked with a wry smile. "Rejections, confessions, and surprises all around. What's next? A plot twists." His comment elicited a round of chuckles from the group, lightening the mood and adding a hint of levity to the situation. However, little did Bajil know that another surprise was waiting just around the corner. As the laughter subsided, Lisa seized the moment, her eyes gleaming with determination. She took a deep breath and looked directly at Bajil, her voice steady and resolute. "Bajil, there's something I need to say," she began, her words drawing the attention of everyone at the table. "I've been wrestling with these feelings for a while, and I can't keep them to myself any longer. I really like you, Bajil, and I want to be more than just friends. Will you be my boyfriend?" The sudden confession hung in the air, and the group fell into stunned silence. Shock registered on their faces, each person processing the unexpected turn of events. Bajil, caught off guard, felt a mix of surprise and curiosity, his mind racing with questions. After a moment, Bajil composed himself and replied, "Lisa, this is definitely unexpected. I appreciate your honesty, and I want to talk more about this after the game tomorrow. Let's take the time to understand our feelings and what this could mean for us." Lisa nodded, her eyes filled with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. The table erupted into whispers and exchanged glances as the group absorbed the revelation. However, before the conversation could resume, another bombshell dropped. Daniela, her curiosity piqued by the mention of Lisa's confession, leaned forward and asked, "Lisa, if I may ask, are you bisexual as well?" The question hung in the air, catching everyone by surprise. All eyes turned to Lisa, awaiting her response, as the atmosphere grew charged with anticipation. The table fell into a hushed silence as Lisa's words settled in. Daniela nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Thank you for sharing that with me, Lisa," she responded. "I am also bisexual," her voice carrying a touch of understanding. Both look at each other with interest as Lisa surprised that Daniela is bisexual. Her eyes widened with surprise as Daniela revealed her own bisexuality. A sense of connection and understanding washed over her, bridging the gap between them in an unexpected way. She couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement, realizing that they now shared this aspect of their identities. "Wow, Daniela, I had no idea," Lisa replied, her voice filled with genuine interest. "It's amazing to find someone who can relate to this part of my journey. We have so much to talk about." Daniela smiled warmly, appreciating Lisa's enthusiasm. "Yes, it's quite a journey indeed," she said. "I'm glad we can support each other and explore this together." The revelation sparked a new bond between Lisa and Daniela, a shared understanding that went beyond their initial connection over art. They exchanged stories, discussed their experiences, and offered each other encouragement and advice. It was a beautiful moment of mutual acceptance and celebration of their diverse identities. A wave of surprise and curiosity washed over the rest of the group, their minds racing to process the new information. Bajil, his initial surprise subsiding, found himself intrigued by the unfolding revelations. The rest of the group, who had been silently observing the conversation, now chimed in with curiosity. The rest of the evening passed at the Chinese restaurant transformed the atmosphere, a mix of laughter, heartfelt conversations, and shared anticipation for the upcoming basketball game. As the group finished their meal and left the restaurant, Daniela and Lisa found themselves walking side by side, engaged in a deep conversation. Their connection had grown stronger throughout the evening, and they both felt a genuine connection. Feeling a sense of comfort and trust, Daniela reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She turned to Lisa with a warm smile and said, "Hey, Lisa, would you like to exchange numbers? It would be great to stay in touch and continue our conversations." Lisa's eyes lit up with excitement, and she nodded eagerly. "Absolutely, Daniela. I'd love to stay connected and get to know you better." The two of them exchanged phones and quickly added each other's contact information. As they handed the phones back, their fingers brushed against each other's, sending a subtle jolt of electricity between them. They couldn't help but smile, their newfound connection growing stronger by the moment. As Lisa and Daniela continued walking together, Lisa couldn't help but feel a growing curiosity about Daniela's thoughts on Bajil. They had both shared their feelings of attraction and interest in him, and Lisa wanted to know if Daniela felt the same. With a hint of nervousness in her voice, Lisa turned to Daniela and asked, "Daniela, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what are your opinions of Bajil? Do you have feelings for him, like I do?" Daniela paused for a moment, considering her response. She looked into Lisa's eyes and spoke honestly. "Lisa, Bajil is an interesting person. He has his own unique qualities, and I appreciate his talents and dedication. However, I'm still getting to know him, and I can't deny that Bajil has caught my attention," she confessed, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "There's something intriguing about him, and I find myself drawn to his personality and presence." Lisa's heart skipped a beat, a mixture of excitement and nervousness flooding her. "So, you like him too?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniela nodded, her eyes filled with honesty. "Yes, Lisa, I do. But let's remember that friendship is important to both of us. We should take the time to get to know Bajil better and see how our feelings develop. It's important to approach this with care and consideration for each other's emotions." Lisa nodded, understanding Daniela's response. "That's completely fair, Daniela. It's important for us to take our time and explore our feelings. I'm glad we can be open and honest about this. Daniela smiled, appreciating Lisa's understanding and maturity. Thank you, Lisa. I value our friendship, and I want us to support each other as we navigate our emotions and connections. Meanwhile, Bajil and his friends, Jesus, Adrian, Ariel, and Sorvent, part ways from Lisa and Daniela leaving the Chinese restaurant, walked the streets of New York, the city's vibrant energy surrounding them. Their conversation shifted towards the recent events and their thoughts on what had transpired. Jesus, known for his straightforwardness, spoke up first. Man, things are getting complicated, he said, shaking his head. Lisa dropping the bomb about her feelings for Bajil and being interested in someone else too. That's a lot to take in. Adrian raised an eyebrow and nodded in agreement. A knowing smile forming. Yeah, it definitely adds a layer of complexity to the situation, he remarked. Sounds like things are getting complicated, he commented, his tone teasing. What's your take on all this? Bajil leaned back, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. I'll be honest, guys. I do feel a connection with Lisa, and I want to explore that further, he admitted, his voice earnest. But I also want to be mindful of Daniela's feelings. We've all become good friends, and I don't want to hurt anyone in the process. Sorvent and Ariel, Jesus' brother, couldn't resist their mischievous nature. They exchanged mischievous grins and Sorvent turned to Bajil with a playful glint in his eyes. Hey, Bajil, why not have both Lisa and Daniela be your girlfriends? Sorvent suggested with a teasing tone. Imagine the adventures and excitement that could come from having two amazing girls by your side. Ariel joined in, nudging Bajil playfully. Yeah, Bajil, think about it, double the fun, double the adventure. You're a great guy, and they both seem interested. It could be quite the interesting dynamic. Bajil chuckled at their antics, shaking his head. Guys, let's not get carried away, he replied, amusement evident in his voice. Relationships are about more than just quantity. It's important to consider everyone's feelings and desires. It's about building deep connections and mutual respect. Adrian chimed in, his tone lighthearted. That's right, Bajil. It's not about having multiple girlfriends just for the sake of it, he said, nodding. It's about finding someone who truly understands and supports you, and with whom you share a genuine connection. Jesus, with a grin, added, besides, Bajil, you know how complicated things can get with just one person, let alone two. The group burst into laughter, enjoying the banter and the lightheartedness of their conversation. Sorvent and Ariel shrugged, still wearing mischievous smiles. Well, we had to throw the idea out there. Sorvent said with a wink. Ariel added, you never know what the future holds, right? It's all part of the journey. The group continued their walk, their laughter echoing through the streets as they shared stories, jokes, and their perspectives on relationships. They understood that love and connections were complex and unique to each individual. When Bajil arrived home, he was welcomed by his parents, Catherine Molly Munford and Matt Munford. Little did they know, a dormant werewolf gene from the mysterious Nightshade clan coursed through Bajil's veins. The Nightshade clan was once a powerful and influential werewolf lineage, but its existence had faded into obscurity over time. Waiting to be unveiled, as Bajil stepped through the front door of his home, he was greeted by the familiar warmth and comfort that enveloped the house. His parents, Catherine Malloy Munford and Matt Munford, were successful entrepreneurs, owning a booming online store called Seeker Enterprise. Hey, Bajil, how was your day? Catherine asked, her warm smile lighting up the room. Bajil smiled back and replied, it was great, Mom. I had a lot of fun with my friends and some interesting conversations. Catherine and Matt had dedicated their lives to building a thriving business empire, offering a wide range of products through their online platform. Seeker Enterprise had become a household name, known for its innovative ideas, impeccable customer service, and commitment to quality. As Bajil made his way further into the house, he noticed his parents engrossed in discussions about their latest business ventures. The room was filled with a sense of ambition and determination as they brainstormed new ideas to expand their enterprise and reach even greater heights. Little did they know that their family's lineage held a supernatural secret. The dormant werewolf gene, passed down through generations, lay hidden within Bajil's DNA. Still unaware of his true nature, was yet to discover the extraordinary powers and responsibilities that awaited him. Unbeknownst to Bajil and his parents, the Nightshade clan's heritage intertwined with the other major werewolf clans. The Silvercrest clan, the Stormwolf clan, the Bloodmoon clan, and the Shadowfawn clan. As Bajil settled into the comfort of his home, little did he know that his journey would lead him to uncover the hidden secrets of his heritage and the ancient werewolf clans that once thrived in the shadows. As Daniela arrived at her luxurious home, she was greeted by her father, Xavier Jolene, and her mother, Scarlett Jolene. While they were indeed prominent figures in high society, known for their business ventures and philanthropic efforts, there was another aspect of their lives that remained hidden from the public eye. Xavier Jolene, unbeknownst to many, was the leader of a powerful werewolf clan, the Silvercrest, a lineage that stretched back for generations. The Jolene family held a significant position within the supernatural community, with Xavier's leadership guiding the clan through both peaceful times and occasional conflicts. Scarlett, a formidable figure in her own right, stood beside Xavier, her eyes filled with pride as she watched her daughter. "Welcome home, my dear," she said, her voice carrying a touch of authority. "I hope your day was fulfilling and that you navigated the human world with grace." Upon entering the grand foyer of their mansion, Daniela could feel the presence of ancient traditions and the weight of responsibility that came with her heritage. The walls were adorned with portraits of their ancestors, capturing the history and power that flowed through their veins. As Daniela stepped inside, she was joined by her two brothers, Marcus and Sebastian Jolene. Marcus, the older brother, was a charismatic and ambitious individual who shared their parents' drive for success. Sebastian, the younger brother, possessed a mischievous spirit and a knack for getting into trouble. Their sister Sophia Jolene, the youngest of the Jolene siblings, approached Daniela with a wide smile. Sophia was full of youthful energy and had a natural curiosity about the world. The Jolene family stood as a formidable force in both the business world and the mysterious realm of their hidden heritage. Their lives were a delicate balance of wealth, power, and the secrets that came with being part of the powerful werewolf Silvercrest clan, a lineage rooted in ancient traditions and supernatural abilities. Little did Daniela know that her journey would soon intertwine with another hidden family's legacy, as the dormant werewolf gene within him would awaken by untold events. As Lisa arrived home, she was greeted by her parents, Leo Rodriguez and Jenna Rodriguez, who welcomed her with warm smiles. The artistic atmosphere in the house was evident, with vibrant paintings adorning the walls and sketches scattered on the table. Lisa's father, Leo Rodriguez, is a renowned animation artist. With his exceptional talent and creativity, he has made a name for himself in the animation industry. Leo's work is highly regarded, and he has been involved in the creation of numerous beloved animated films and TV shows. He brings characters to life through his art, capturing the imagination of audiences worldwide. His dedication to his craft and passion for animation have earned him a well-deserved reputation as one of the industry's top artists. On the other hand, Lisa's mother, Jenna Rodriguez, is a professional artist specializing in drawing, art, illustration, and digital art software like Photoshop. Her artistic skills are exceptional, and she has a keen eye for detail and a unique artistic style. Jenna's artwork showcases her ability to create captivating and visually stunning pieces that evoke emotion and tell stories. Her talent and dedication to her craft have established her as a respected artist in the industry. Growing up in a family of artists, Lisa has been exposed to creativity and artistic expression from a young age. Her parents' influence has shaped her own passion for art and nurtured her. In the living room, Lisa's younger brother, Ethan Rodriguez, was engrossed in a sketchbook, his pencil gliding across the paper with precision. Ethan shared Lisa's passion for art and had his own unique artistic style. He often sought inspiration from his surroundings, capturing everyday moments and turning them into extraordinary illustrations. Despite their occasional sibling rivalries, Lisa and Ethan had a deep bond, often exchanging ideas and collaborating on creative projects. Lisa's older sister, Ava Rodriguez, was in her room, immersed in her digital art projects. With a passion for illustration and a knack for graphic design, Ava had carved a niche for herself in the digital art world. Her creations seamlessly blended traditional and digital techniques, showcasing her versatility and innovative approach. Ava was a source of inspiration for Lisa, guiding her through her artistic journey and providing valuable insights into the ever-evolving realm of digital art. As Lisa joined her siblings in the living room, the air buzzed with creative energy. They shared stories, exchanged tips and tricks, and occasionally engaged in friendly art challenges. Their home was not just a place to live, but a haven of artistic expression, where their individual talents flourished, nurtured by the support and encouragement of their parents and each other. As the students gathered at school on September 14th, Thursdays 2023, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement about the upcoming basketball game. Bajil's friends, Jesus, Adrian, Ariel, and Sorvent, huddled around him near the entrance, their voices filled with anticipation and speculation. Jesus, being the jokester of the group, couldn't contain his amusement as he retold the story of Zach's unsuccessful attempt to ask Daniela out. Looking around at his friends. Remember Zach? The guy who thought he had a shot with Daniela. The group burst into laughter. He asked her out, after P. class, before we all gathered to head to the Chinese restaurant, Jesus continued, relishing in the opportunity to share the story. And she shut him down so hard, it was epic. I thought I saw Zach's confidence shatter into a million pieces. Ariel burst into laughter, unable to contain his amusement. Oh man, that's priceless. I bet he didn't see that coming. I can't believe he thought he even had a chance. Daniela is way out of his league. Adrian nodded in agreement, a mischievous glint in his eyes. I guess not everyone can handle rejection gracefully. Zach was so confident asking Daniela out, thinking he had a chance, but he got shut down hard. Brutal bro. Sorvent let out a boisterous laugh, unable to contain his amusement. I guess Zach underestimated Daniela's ability to see through his charm. It's a good reminder that not everyone can win over the object of their affection. Bajil, although amused by the turn of events, well, rejection is never easy. Let's not dwell on it too much. We've all had our fair share of embarrassing moments. Jesus nodded, understanding Bajil's sentiment. You're right. It's not something we should make a big deal out of. We have more important things to focus on, like the game tonight. Bajil and his friends said, leaving the events surrounding Zach's rejection as a humorous anecdote in their high school memories. As Bajil's friends continued their conversation, their focus shifted to the upcoming basketball game. They were genuinely interested in Bajil's role on the team and wondered if he would be on the bench again or Coach Stevens would give him a chance to play. Jesus, always the one to speak his mind, leaned in closer to Bajil. So, Bajil, what do you think? Are you going to be on the bench again, or do you think the coach will finally let you show off your skills on the court? Bajil let out a sigh, contemplating the question. I'm not sure, Jesus. It's been frustrating sitting on the bench, but I've been working hard in practice. I hope the coach recognizes my dedication and gives me an opportunity to contribute to the team. Adrian nodded in agreement. Yeah, man. You've been putting in the work, and we've all seen your potential. It's about time the coach gives you a chance to shine. Bajil chuckled modestly, his gaze briefly drawn to Daniela as she gracefully walked through the halls, exuding a sense of confidence and enigmatic allure. She caught Bajil's eye, and for a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. Hey, Bajil, earth to Bajil, Ariel called out, waving his hand in front of Bajil's face. You're daydreaming again. What's up with you and Daniela? Bajil blinked, snapping out of his reverie. Huh? Oh, nothing, he stammered, attempting to conceal his momentary distraction. Just thinking about the game, you know. Sorvent, always mischievous, nudged Bajil with a mischievous grin. Come on, Bajil, we all know there's something going on between you, Daniela, and Lisa. The way you all look at each other is undeniable. Bajil couldn't help but blush at Sorvent's teasing words. He knew there was a connection between him, Daniela, and Lisa, but he wasn't ready to openly discuss it with his friends just yet. Ah, come on, Sorvent, he replied, trying to brush off the comment. We're just friends, Jesus chimed in, a knowing smile on his face. Sure, Bajil, just friends. We've all seen the way you look at each other. It's written all over your face. Adrian nodded in agreement. Yeah, man, don't deny it. We're happy for you if something is happening. You deserve happiness. Bajil's cheeks grew even warmer, realizing that his friends were onto something. But he decided to keep the details to himself for now, not wanting to make things more complicated than they already were. Thanks, guys, he said, grateful for their support. Let's focus on the game for now. We've got a victory to secure. The topic of Coach Stevens and his decisions regarding Bajil's role in the game came up once again. I wonder if Coach Stevens is going to let you play this time, Bajil, Jesus commented, leaning against the lockers. Bajil shrugged, a hint of uncertainty in his expression. I hope so. I've been practicing hard and I'm ready to show what I can do on the court. Adrian nodded in agreement. Yeah, you've been on fire lately. It's about time Coach recognizes your skills and gives you the playing time you deserve. Ariel chimed in, his eyes filled with determination. I have a feeling this game is going to be a turning point for you, Bajil. Coach Stevens won't be able to ignore your talent any longer. Sorvent, always mischievous, couldn't resist adding his own comment. Or maybe Coach will surprise us all and put you on the bench again. It wouldn't be the first time. Bajil shot Sorvent a playful glare. Come on, man, don't jinx it. I'm counting on Coach to make the right call this time. The friends shared a laugh, the banter lightening the mood as they made their way to their first class, the excitement for the game still palpable in their conversations. As the bell rang, signaling the start of the first period, Bajil's friends, Sorvent, Jesus, and Adrian, bid their farewells and headed off to their respective classes. Bajil and Ariel, however, found themselves lingering in the hallway, engrossed in a discussion about the upcoming game. They shared their excitement, but Bajil's attention was suddenly drawn to a familiar voice nearby. He turned his head and saw Daniela and Lisa engaged in a lively conversation just a few feet away. Curiosity piqued, Bajil nudged Ariel, silently indicating their next course of action. They decided to approach Daniela and Lisa. Hey, Daniela. Lisa. Bajil called out, his voice laced with genuine warmth. Daniela turned around, a smile brightening her face as she recognized Bajil. Hey, Bajil. How's it going? Ariel chimed in, his friendly demeanor complimenting Bajil's enthusiasm. Hey, Lisa. Long time no see. What's the topic of discussion? Lisa's eyes lit up with excitement as she glanced at Bajil and Ariel. We were just talking about the game tonight and the energy that comes with a full moon. Bajil's interest was immediately piqued. The mention of the full moon added an intriguing element to the conversation. Yeah, it's going to be an epic game under the full moon's glow. Are you both going to be? Daniela's expression turned slightly regretful. Actually, I won't be able to make it. Something unexpected came. Lisa, however, chimed in with a reassuring smile. I'll be there to cheer you on, Bajil. I wouldn't miss it. Bajil's spirits lifted at her supportive words. Thanks, Lisa. Your presence means a lot to me. In the midst of their conversation, Bajil's thoughts briefly drifted to the conflict he had recently experienced with Dominic and Zach. He wondered if they would try to disrupt the game or cause any trouble. It was a nagging concern at the back of his mind, but he pushed it aside for now, focusing on the positive energy surrounding him. Daniela, on the other hand, seemed preoccupied with something on her mind. Her normally vibrant and confident demeanor seemed slightly subdued. Bajil couldn't help but feel a tinge of concern for her, but he didn't want to pry. Instead, he made a mental note to check in with her later. Hey, Daniela, Bajil spoke up gently, his voice filled with genuine concern. Is everything okay? You seem a little off today. Daniela paused for a moment, meeting Bajil's gaze with a faint smile. Oh, it's nothing, really, she replied, her tone soft but evasive. Just a few things on my mind. I'll be fine, don't worry. Bajil nodded, not entirely convinced, but knowing that sometimes people needed time to sort out their thoughts. He trusted that Daniela would confide in him when she was ready. In the meantime, the thought of Dominic and Zach's potential interference lingered at the back of Bajil's mind, casting a shadow over the excitement he felt. He knew the rivalry between them was intense, and their actions in the past had caused disruptions and conflict. I hope everything goes smoothly today, Bajil mused aloud, sharing his concerns with Lisa, who had been quietly listening. Lisa nodded in agreement, her eyes filled with determination. "I understand what you mean," she replied. "But remember, we can't control the actions of others. All we can do is stay focused and give it our all." But Jill felt a renewed sense of determination and strength as Lisa's words resonated with him. After their brief encounter in the hallway, Bajil and Ariel headed to their first period class, leaving Daniela and Lisa to continue their conversation. As they entered their respective classrooms, the familiar routine of the school day began. Bajil's mind was still filled with thoughts of the upcoming basketball game. He couldn't help but feel a mixture of nerves and excitement. He had been working hard, honing his skills, and giving his all during practices. He hoped that Coach Stevens would recognize his dedication and grant him the opportunity to prove himself on the court. Meanwhile, in her own class, Daniela found it difficult to focus. The mysterious absence of her werewolf powers bothered her. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. She wondered if it had anything to do with the full moon tonight, but the reason eluded her. Lisa, sitting at her desk in another classroom, was immersed in her art notebook, sketching and allowing her thoughts to flow onto the paper. As a budding artist, she found solace and self-expression in her drawings. Today, she decided to capture the energy and anticipation. As the day progresses, the final bell rang, signaling the end of classes. Bajil and his friends, along with Lisa, parted ways, each carrying their own thoughts and anticipation for the upcoming basketball game against Crossvale Academy later in the day. Bajil couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement coursing through his veins. He had been training rigorously for this game, and the opportunity to showcase his skills on the court against their rival school was something he had been eagerly awaiting. Meanwhile, Lisa was filled with a mix of nerves and excitement. This would be her first time attending a basketball game, and she was looking forward to cheering Bajil and his team on from the stand. As the anticipation for the game mounted, Lisa couldn't shake off her concern for Daniela. She decided to send a quick text, checking in on Lisa. "Hey, Daniela. Just wanted to see how you're doing. Is everything okay? I noticed you seemed a bit off earlier. Let me know if you need anything." A few moments later, Daniela's reply came in, confirming Lisa's worry. "Daniela, thanks, Lisa. I appreciate your concern. I'm dealing with something unexpected tonight and won't be able to make it to the game. I'll explain later. Just cheer extra loud for Bajil for me." Lisa felt a mixture of understanding and disappointment. She knew that Daniela must have a valid reason for not being able to attend, but she also wished she could be there by Bajil's side. Nonetheless, she responded with an encouraging message. "Lisa, of course, Daniela. I understand. Don't worry, I'll be there, cheering loudly for Bajil and the team. We'll catch up later and you can fill me in. Take care, and good luck with whatever you're dealing with." With their brief text exchange, Lisa felt a sense of reassurance that Daniela appreciated her support. She made a mental note to keep an eye out for her later and to provide any assistance she could. Meanwhile, on Daniela's side and her family, she arrived home to find her siblings, Marcus and Sebastian, waiting for her. As the sun began to set and the full moon loomed overhead, Daniela knew it was time for their transformation into their werewolf forms. "Hey, Daniela, you ready for tonight?" Marcus asked with excitement evident in his voice. Daniela returned his smile, a mix of anticipation and eagerness in her eyes. "Absolutely. It's been a while since our last run. I can't wait to feel the freedom of running under the moonlight." Sebastian, the youngest of the siblings, bounced with excitement. "Yeah, it's going to be epic. I've been practicing my agility, so prepare to be impressed, sis." As the Jolene siblings made their way to the outskirts of New York City, they found a secluded area where they could transform in their werewolf form under the watchful glow of the full moon, hidden from prying eyes, where they can safely undergo their transformation. As the energy of the full moon envelopes them, a surge of power courses through their veins. The air is filled with anticipation and excitement as they prepare for the exhilarating experience of running through the city as werewolves. The Jolene siblings let out a howl that pierces through the night, signaling the start of their transformation. Their bodies shift and contort, fur sprouting from their skin as they assume their powerful wolf forms. With agile grace, they bound through the city, their senses heightened and instincts guiding their every move. The Jolene siblings ran freely, their laughter echoing through the night. They explored the vast cityscape, leaping over obstacles. Rush of adrenaline filled their veins as they navigated the urban landscape with grace and precision. Through the bustling streets of the city, Daniela follows the pull of familiarity and connection. Her instincts take over, propelling her forward with a newfound sense of urgency. Her mind races with questions and a burning desire to uncover the source of this mysterious trigger. The triggering within her intensifies, causing her to go into a state of frenzied excitement. She darts through the city, her movements swift and agile. Unbeknownst to her, her siblings, Marcus and Sebastian, give chase, their own werewolf abilities pushing them to their limits. However, despite their best efforts, they lose sight of their sister amidst the chaotic pursuit. Panic sets in as they call out her name, their voices echoing through the empty streets, fading into the background as her determination pushes her further. They know they need to find her and ensure her safety before anything goes wrong. Marcus and Sebastian exchange worried glances, realizing they have lost sight of their sister amidst the chaotic pursuit. Panic sets in, and they quickly assess the situation, piece together what might have happened. What could have triggered her like this? Marcus asks, his voice laced with concern. I've never seen Daniela like this before. Sebastian shakes his head, his brows furrowed with worry. I don't know, Marcus. It's like something took hold of her. We need to find her before anything goes wrong. They take a moment to gather, their minds racing with possibilities and worst-case scenarios. They know they need to act quickly and find Daniela before the situation escalates further. Let's split up and cover more ground, Marcus suggests, his voice filled with determination. We'll meet back here in 15 minutes. We can't afford to lose any more time. Sebastian nods in agreement, his expression resolute. Agreed. Stay safe, Marcus. We'll find her. With a final exchange of worried glances, Marcus and Sebastian go their separate ways, each determined to locate their sister and bring her back to safety. They rely on their keen senses, using their heightened hearing and sense of smell to pick up any trace of Daniela's presence. Meanwhile, focus back to Bajil and the basketball game. The gymnasium buzzes with excitement. The crowd fills the stands, eagerly awaiting the start of the game. Bajil and his teammates prepare for battle, fueled by adrenaline and determination. Coach Stevens delivers a final pep talk, emphasizing teamwork, strategy, and giving their all on the court. Bajil's mind briefly wanders to the events of the day and the lingering thoughts of his connection with Daniela and Lisa. He pushes those thoughts aside, focusing on the game at hand. As Coach Stevens announces the players who will take the court, a sinking feeling settles in Bajil's chest. He listens intently, hoping to hear his name among the starters, but his heart drops when Coach Stevens declares, starting for today's game, we have Dominic and Zach. Bajil, you'll be on the bench. Bajil's frustration surges within him, courses through his veins, disappointment etched on his face. He watches as Dominic and Zach take to the court, their smug expressions and taunting gestures intensifying his anger. The unfairness of it all gnaws at him, and he can't help but feel overlooked and underestimated. As the first quarter of the game begins, Dominic glances over at Bajil with a smirk. Enjoying the view from the bench, Bajil, he taunts, his voice dripping with condescension. Zach chuckles and adds, yeah, looks like you're not getting a chance to shine today. Maybe next time. His hands clenched into fists, Bajil tries to channel his frustration into focus. He studies the movements of his teammates and the opposing players, analyzing their strengths and weaknesses, and silently formulating his own strategies. Every fiber of his being yearns to be on that court, to prove his worth and silence the doubters. As the basketball game gets underway, Bajil's friends and Lisa sit together in the stands, their eyes fixed on the court. They observe Bajil being benched, disappointment evident on their faces. Jesus leans forward, his brows furrowed. Man, this is frustrating. Bajil should be out there, he remarks, his voice filled with determination. Adrian nods. Yeah, he's been working so hard. It's unfair that he's not getting the chance to showcase his skills, he adds, a hint of frustration in his tone. Ariel chimes in, his voice filled with sympathy. I know how much this game means to him. It's tough seeing him on the bench. Sorvent, always mischievous, smirks. Well, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Bajil can show them what he's made of when he finally gets his chance. Lisa, who has been silently observing, speaks up. I believe in Bajil. I know he'll make an impact when he steps onto that court. The group nods in agreement, their unwavering support for Bajil evident. They continue to watch the game, hoping for the moment when Bajil will finally get his opportunity to shine. Jesus, Adrian, and Sorvent glance at each other, their concern evident in their expressions. Jesus leans in closer to Lisa and Ariel. Hey, where's Daniela? I thought she'd be here, cheering Bajil on with us?" he asks, his voice tinged with curiosity. Lisa exchanges a knowing glance with Ariel before responding. "Yeah, she mentioned earlier that she wouldn't be able to make it to the game for some reason. She didn't specify why, but I'm sure she's got her reasons," Lisa explains, her voice carrying a hint of understanding. Ariel chimes in, offering his input. "Knowing Daniela, she's probably dealing with something important. We should respect her privacy. Sorvents, maybe she got caught up in some family adventure. Who knows?" Adrian raises an eyebrow at Sorvent's comment, a mix of amusement and concern in his eyes. "Well, I hope she's all right. We'll have to check in on her later and make sure everything's okay." As the game progresses between Silvermoon High and Crossvale Academy, the atmosphere in the gymnasium is filled with excitement. The very intense start of the game, both teams, Silvermoon High and Crossvale Academy, fiercely compete for control of the. Both teams exchange basket for basket, showcasing their offensive and defensive prowess. Silvermoon showing their tenacity by making crucial steals, blocking shots, and disrupting the opposing team's offense. The intensity on the court is palpable, with players diving for loose balls and contesting every shot. Dominic and Zach, both formidable opponents, showcase their skills, making impressive plays and scoring points for their team. Bajil, on the other hand, anxiously waits on the bench, his frustration growing with each passing moment. Aware of Bajil's presence on the bench, can't help but taunt him. They exchange smirks and make sarcastic remarks, attempting to get under his skin and undermine his confidence. Bajil's friends observe the exchange, their frustration growing alongside his. They exchange glances and whisper among themselves, offering words of encouragement and support for Bajil. They know he is capable of greatness, and they eagerly wait the moment when he will have his chance to shine. The score remains tight throughout the first quarter, with neither team able to establish a significant lead. The crowd's cheers reach a crescendo with every successful basket, amplifying the pressure on the players. The gymnasium reverberates with the sound of squeaking sneakers, bouncing balls, and roaring fans. The score is neck and neck, with both teams giving their all to gain the upper hand. The energy in the gymnasium is electrifying as the crowd cheers and roars with each play. The first quarter ends with a close score, reflecting the intense battle between the two teams. The score 25-25, indicating a highly competitive game where every point matters. The game is far from over, the stage is set for an exhilarating second quarter, and the crowd eagerly awaits the action that is about to unfold. The battle between Silvermoon High and their rivals, Crossvale Academy, is just heating up, and the outcome hangs in the balance. As the second quarter begins, the intensity on the court reaches a whole new level. The players from Silvermoon High and Crossvale Academy are determined to give it their all and secure the victory for their respective teams. Bajil, still on the bench, watches the game unfold with a mix of frustration and determination. He can feel the energy coursing through his veins, eager to be unleashed on the court. Dominic and Zach continue to play a strong game, showcasing their skills and making crucial plays for Silvermoon High. Their presence on the court serves as a constant reminder to Bajil of the challenge he faces. The taunts and smirks from his rivals fuel his fire, only intensifying his desire to prove himself. As the game progresses, the score remains tight, with both teams battling fiercely for every point. The atmosphere in the gymnasium is electric, with the spectators on the edge of their seats, eagerly anticipating every play. Coach Stevens, observing the flow of the game, strategizes and makes adjustments to maximize the team's performance. He knows that the key to victory lies in the collective effort and unity of the players. The halftime buzzer sounds, signaling a brief break in the game. Bajil and his teammates gather around Coach Stevens, listening intently to his words of wisdom and guidance. The halftime talk ignites a renewed sense of determination and purpose within the team. As the halftime break begins, Bajil's frustration reaches its crucial peak. The disappointment of being benched has taken its toll, and he can no longer ignore the burning desire to prove himself on the court. Without hesitation, Bajil quietly decides to sneak away from the team and the gymnasium, seeking solace and a release for his pent-up emotions. Outside, the cool evening air provides a momentary respite from the intensity of the game. Bajil takes a deep breath, trying to regain his composure and find clarity in his thoughts. He reflects on his passion for the sport, the countless hours of practice, and the determination that has brought him this far. His heart beats with a mix of frustration and determination. The unfairness of being benched gnaws at him, fueling his desire to prove himself on the court. He reflects on his passion for the sport, the countless hours of practice, and the determination that has brought him this far. His heart beats with a mix of frustration and determination. The unfairness of being benched gnaws at him, fueling his desire to prove himself on the court. He recalls the countless hours spent perfecting his shots, refining his dribbling skills, and studying the strategies of the game. With the full moon casting its ethereal glow upon him, Bajil speaks softly to himself, his voice filled with unwavering determination. "I will prove myself," he whispers, his words carried by the night breeze. "I will show them what I'm capable of." In the distance, Jesus, Ariel, Adrian, Sorvent, and Lisa chased after him, their concern evident in their expressions. After he left the gym, frantically looked for him after losing sight of him. The park was bathed in the silvery light of the full moon, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. They suddenly heard a blood-curdling scream pierce through the air. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they rushed towards the source of the sound. As they reached the scene, their worst fears were confirmed. There, lying on the ground, was Bajil, unconscious and bloodied, with deep claw marks on his arm and chest. The sight was horrifying, and panic gripped their hearts. "Oh my God, Bajil!" Lisa gasped, dropping to her knees beside him. "What happened? Who did this?" Adrian asked, scanning the surroundings for any sign of the attacker. Sorvent's mischievous nature was replaced with concern, and he immediately dialed for emergency services. "We need an ambulance, quick. Our friend has been attacked, and he's unconscious." The dispatcher assured Sorvent that help was on the way. The minutes felt like an eternity as they waited for the ambulance to arrive. In the meantime, they did their best to keep Bajil stable and comforted. "I don't understand. What could have done this to him?" Ariel whispered, his eyes wide with shock and fear. "I don't know, but it was something big and powerful," Jesus replied, his voice trembling with worry. As the sound of sirens drew near, the ambulance and paramedics arrived at the scene. They immediately attended to Bajil, providing medical care and loading him onto a stretcher. His friends watched with concern as he was whisked away to the hospital. Meanwhile, Marcus and Sebastian, in their werewolf forms, used their heightened hearing to search for their sister Daniela. In the distance, the sound of sirens caught their attention. They exchanged glances, recognizing the distinct wailing of an ambulance and the bustling arrival of paramedics at the scene. Without a moment's hesitation, they swiftly followed the sound, their werewolf agility allowing them to move through the city with speed and stealth. From the shadows atop a nearby building, they observed the unfolding scene below. Bajil lay unconscious on the ground, bloodied, and his friends surrounded him with worried expressions. Using their superior hearing, they listened into the distant sounds of people talking and the commotion on scene. Worried whispers filled the air as bystanders speculated about what had happened. "Did you see what attacked him? Is he going to be okay? I heard it was some kind of animal." Marcus and Sebastian's hearts pounded in their chests. They knew they had to find Daniela, but they couldn't ignore the distressing situation in front of them. Hidden from view, they watched as the paramedics attended to Bajil, carefully preparing him for transport to the hospital. The scene was chaotic, with flashing lights from the emergency vehicles casting an eerie glow on the surroundings. Bajil's friends looked on with worried expressions, and Lisa's face held a mix of concern and fear. She glanced around, her gaze scanning the area as if searching for someone. As the paramedics worked, Jesus approached Lisa, a mixture of relief and anxiety in his voice. "Any word from Daniela?" he asked, his tone tense. Lisa shook her head, her worry evident. "No, I've been trying to reach her, but she's not responding to my messages." Jesus frowned, his concern deepening. "This is really strange. First, Bajil gets attacked by some unknown creature, and now Daniela is nowhere to be found." Ariel, who had been standing nearby, spoke up. "Why isn't Daniela replying back to Lisa's messages?" Adrian nodded in agreement with Ariel's observation. Sorvent chimed in, his voice low. "Did you guys see the state Bajil was in? Whatever attacked him seemed strong and dangerous." As the paramedics carefully lifted Bajil onto a stretcher, Lisa's gaze remained fixed on him. Marcus and Sebastian watched from the shadows, their keen senses picking up on every word and emotion from the scene below. They exchanged a glance, silently communicating. "They say it was some kind of animal attack," Marcus murmured to his brother, his voice laced with concern. Sebastian nodded, his eyes never leaving the unfolding scene. "Yeah, and it looks bad. Bajil's hurt pretty badly. You don't think it was Daniela?" Marcus, his brows furrowing with worry. No, I don't think so. We need to find Daniela and make sure she's safe. Sebastian's jaw tightened, his protective instincts kicking in. Agreed. We can't let her face whatever did this alone. Remember, she went berserk and ran off. Whatever attacked Bajil, it's not likely to be Daniela. The two werewolf siblings continued to observe from their hidden vantage point. The distant sounds of sirens and the urgency of the situation fueled their determination to locate their sister and ensure her safety. Back at the scene, the basketball game had come to an abrupt and unsettling halt. The blaring of sirens grew louder as police vehicles and emergency responders arrived, their flashing lights casting an eerie glow over the surroundings. The once excited crowd now stood in a mixture of shock and concern as police officers began to establish a perimeter and address the bewildered spectators. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically, the energy of the game replaced by an air of uncertainty. The school gymnasium, once filled with cheers and competitive spirit, was now a scene of unexpected disruption. The sound of hushed murmurs and worried conversations hung in the air as players and audience members alike tried to make sense of the situation. An officer stepped forward, their voice projected through a megaphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the interruption, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we are suspending the game temporarily. There has been an incident involving one of the players. I want to assure you that we are taking all necessary measures to address the situation." Bajil's teammates exchanged bewildered looks, their focus shifting from the game to the unfolding events. The shock of the interruption and the presence of law enforcement only deepened the sense of unease. Coach Stevens stood at the sideline, concerned as he tried to gather information about what had transpired. In the midst of the commotion, Dominic Lee and Zach O'Brien stood a little apart from the crowd, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. The unexpected turn of events had drawn their attention away from the game, and they exchanged a few hushed words. "Dude, did you see what happened?" Dominic asked, as he watched the unfolding scene. Zach shook his head, his eyes fixed on the police officers as they coordinated their efforts. "Nah, I didn't, but it must be something serious if they're stopping the game like this." Dominic nodded in agreement. "Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's Bajil, right? Did you see him out here before everything went down?" Zach frowned, recalling the last time he had seen Bajil on the bench. He was sitting on the sideline, pretty frustrated about not getting to play, but I didn't see him leave or anything. Dominic's lips twisted into a thoughtful expression. "I heard Lisa mention something about not being able to reach him through messages. Wonder what's going on." Zach shrugged, his attention divided between the unfolding scene and their conversation. "Who knows, man, but it's gotta be something major if they're bringing in the cops." As they spoke, the reality of the situation settled in, and a somber mood hung over them. The camaraderie of the game had been replaced by a sense of unease, and the unknown circumstances surrounding Bajil's absence weighed heavily on their minds. Meanwhile, Jesus, Ariel, Adrian, and Sorvent gathered around Lisa, offering words of support and reassurance. "We'll follow you to the hospital," Jesus stated firmly, his expression reflecting his determination. Ariel nodded in agreement. "Yeah, you're not alone in this, Lisa." Adrian placed a comforting hand on Lisa's shoulder. "Don't worry, Bajil'll be fine." Sorvent's voice was filled with sincerity. "We'll inform our parents about what happened. They'll want to be there too." Lisa managed a small smile, touched by the unwavering support of Bajil's friends. "Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it." As the ambulance lights flashed and its siren wailed, Bajil was gently placed on a stretcher and loaded into the vehicle. Lisa, her face etched with concern, quickly climbed in beside him. The ambulance doors closed, sealing them off from the bewildered onlookers. The ambulance pulled away from the scene, leaving behind a sense of unease in its wake. Jesus, Ariel, Adrian, and Sorvent setting off together, their steps purposeful as they headed towards the hospital. They stand by Bajil's side during this difficult time. As they walked, Ariel's phone buzzed with a text message. He quickly checked it and then turned to the others. "It's Lisa," he said, his voice filled with concern. "She's going to let us know how Bajil's doing." The group nodded, grateful for any updates on their friend's condition. The journey to the hospital was tense, each step feeling heavier than the last. Thoughts raced through their minds. At the same time, Marcus and Sebastian, having watched the ambulance drive off, leapt down from the rooftop they had been perched on. They knew that finding their sister Daniela was a pressing concern. The Jolene siblings traversed the city with the grace and speed of their werewolf forms. Their heightened senses guided them as they searched for any trace of Daniela. They roamed the streets, their eyes scanning the shadows and their ears attuned to the slightest sound. As the night wore on, the moon's silvery light bathed the city, casting an ethereal glow. The Jolene siblings remained steadfast in their search, the urgency of the situation propelling them forward. It wasn't until later, as the night wore on, their father's powerful howl echoed through the city. Reaching Marcus and Sebastian's ears was a signal that they couldn't ignore. They leaped from the rooftop, heading home to their family. Xavier Jolene, their father, was calling them home. The search for Daniela would continue, but for now, they needed to answer their father's call. The journey back to their family's home was swift and purposeful. Every step was imbued with a mix of urgency and anticipation. The streets blurred past as they made their way home. Upon their arrival, the Jolene household was bathed in a warm, inviting light. The familiar scent of home embraced them as they entered. Xavier Jolene stood in the living room, his presence commanding and reassuring. He had always been a pillar of strength for his children, and in times of uncertainty. Marcus, Sebastian, he began, his voice a blend of concern and authority. There's something important I need to discuss with both of you. The brothers exchanged a quick glance, their curiosity piqued. What is it, father? Marcus inquired, his brows furrowed. Your sister, Daniela, Xavier Jolene began, his gaze steady on his sons. She's home fast asleep in her bedroom. Marcus and Sebastian's eyes widened in surprise, their expressions a mixture of astonishment and relief. Home? Marcus spoke up, his voice steady. She went berserk, father. We lost sight of her in the city. Xavier's eyes widened slightly, a mix of surprise and concern crossing his features. Berserk? What do you mean? Father, Sebastian chimed in, his words measured. We've been searching for her all night, Sebastian said, his tone heavy with concern. Something triggered her, and she ran off into the city. We tried to follow her, but she was too fast. Xavier's brow furrowed as he processed the information. I see. It's clear that there's more to this than meets the eye. We're just glad she's back home and safe, Marcus said, his relief evident in his voice. Xavier nodded, his gaze steady. We'll talk to her tomorrow. For now, let her rest. I have a feeling that tomorrow will bring answers. Inside the ambulance, the blaring sirens sliced through the night as the vehicle sped through the city streets. Bajil lay unconscious on the stretcher, his breathing shallow and his body pale. Lisa sat by his side, her eyes fixed on his ashen face, her hand gently gripping his. The paramedics worked with practiced efficiency, monitoring his vital signs and administering necessary treatments. Bajil's friends had taken quick action. Jesus, Ariel, Adrian, and Sorvent had pooled their efforts to notify Bajil's parents about the incident. The events of the night had left them shaken, and their determination to be there for their friend was unwavering. Ariel checked his phone for updates from Lisa, his expression tense. We need to head to the hospital. We have to know how he's doing. Adrian nodded in agreement. Yeah, let's go. We can't just wait here. As the ambulance pulled away from the scene, the group of friends quickly made their way to Jesus' vehicle. Their concern for Bajil propelled them forward, and they drove with a sense of urgency towards the hospital. Inside the ambulance, the paramedics communicated with the hospital staff, providing them with updates on Bajil's condition. Lisa listened to their words, her worry deepening with each passing moment. She felt a mixture of helplessness and determination, her thoughts consumed by the unconscious figure beside her. Lisa dialed her parents' number. Her voice trembled as she explained the situation, recounting the events that had unfolded during the basketball game. She assured them that she was with Bajil and that he was receiving medical attention. At the hospital, Bajil was rushed into the emergency room, where a team of medical professionals was already waiting. The bite mark on his neck drew immediate attention, and the medical staff worked swiftly to stabilize him. Monitors beeped rhythmically, displaying his heart rate and oxygen levels as the medical team assessed the extent of his injury. Lisa stood by, her heart aching as she watched the medical professionals work tirelessly. Her mind was a whirlwind of emotions, and she couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that lingered in the air. Meanwhile, Bajil's friends arrived at the hospital. They hurried inside, their faces a mix of anxiety and determination. After checking in at the reception, they were directed to the waiting area. Ariel, unable to sit still, paced back and forth. We need to know what's going on. Jesus placed a reassuring hand on his brother's shoulder. Ariel's. We just have to wait. The doctors will update us soon. As they waited, Ariel's phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. He read it aloud to the group, relief evident in his voice. They're working on stabilizing him. He's in good hands. Sorvent nodded, his expression serious. We'll be here for him when he wakes up. The hours seemed to stretch on, each passing moment filled with tension and worry. Bajil's friends exchanged stories and memories, anything to distract themselves from the uncertainty that hung in the air. In the waiting area, Lisa's parents arrived, their faces etched with worry. They embraced their daughter, comforting her as they awaited news about Bajil's condition. Lisa recounted the events of the evening, the basketball game, and the sudden turn of events that had brought them to the hospital. Just as Lisa's parents arrived, Bajil's parents rushed in, their concern evident in their expressions. Jesus, Ariel, Adrian, and Sorvin explained the situation, their words accompanied by a mix of anxiety and support. Bajil's parents exchanged grateful glances with them, appreciating their loyalty to their son. Back in the emergency room, the medical team had managed to stabilize Bajil's condition. The bite wound had been cleaned and dressed, and he was now resting, surrounded by monitors and medical equipment. Lisa sat by his side, her hand still holding his, as she silently willed him to wake up. Inside the examination room, the hospital staff remained attentive, their priority to ensure Bajil's well-being and provide answers to the questions that lingered in the air. As the night wore on, Bajil's parents, Lisa's parents, and his friends gathered in the waiting area, united by their concern for Bajil. The hospital's atmosphere was one of shared worry and hope, as they all awaited updates on his condition and the impending dawn that promised answers to the mysteries of the night. During the night at the hospital, as Ninetails-WOLF lies unconscious and injured, a strange and unsettling energy begins to stir within him. The incident that led to his injuries seems to have awakened something dormant within him, the primal power of the Nightshade clan werewolf blood that flows through his veins. As Bajil's body fights to heal itself, a sensation unlike any he has experienced before courses through him. His senses become heightened, and his awareness of the world around him sharpens. It's as if a new consciousness has awakened within him, an ancient force that has been slumbering for generations. Unbeknownst to anyone in the hospital room, a faint silver glow emanates from Bajil's skin, visible only to those with keen perception. The air seems charged with an otherworldly energy, and even the quiet hum of the medical equipment appears to synchronize with the rhythm of his heartbeat. As the night wears on, Bajil's body undergoes a transformation, subtle yet profound. His injuries heal at an accelerated pace, his strength returning as if guided by an unseen hand. The connection to his Nightshade heritage becomes undeniable, and with it, a growing understanding of the power that now resides within him. In the dimly lit hospital room, Bajil remains unconscious, his body and soul in a delicate dance with the ancient forces that have awakened. The night is long, and as dawn approaches, the truth of his newfound abilities will become clearer, setting the stage for a future he could have never imagined. As dawn approached, the first rays of sunlight cast a gentle glow over the city. News stations began to report the unsettling incident that had transpired during the night, an animal attack on a high school student named Ninetails-WOLF, who was one of the basketball team players in the intense basketball game between Silvermoon High and Crossvale Academy. The news of Bajil's harrowing experience spread like wildfire throughout the school, permeating every discussions and conversation. Whispers reverberated through the hallways, each student offering their own speculative accounts and theories about the enigmatic event. The atmosphere was charged with curiosity and concern as the school community grappled to make sense of the incident. Simultaneously, the news reached the ears of Daniela's family. Xavier Jolene, a notable figure within the community and the werewolf community, was beginning his day like any other. As he sipped his morning tea, his smartphone buzzed insistently on the table beside him. Curiosity piqued, he picked up the device and unlocked the screen. His brows furrowed as he read the flurry of notifications flooding in. News alerts, messages, and calls were bombarding his phone all at once. With a quick swipe, he opened one of the news apps, and his eyes widened as he read the headline, "Animal Attack on Local High School Student." His heart skipped a beat as he quickly tapped on the article, his fingers scrolling through the details. The article described an attack on a high school student named Ninetails-WOLF, a basketball player in a game between Silvermoon High and Crossvale Academy. As he read on, it became clear that this incident was far from ordinary. At the same time, Xavier's sharp instincts prompted him to turn on the nearby television. He grabbed the remote and switched to a news channel, where the same story was being discussed in real time. A sense of urgency surged within him as he absorbed the information from both his smartphone and the television. The news anchors discussed the incident and its implications. Xavier's thoughts turned to his own family. He knew that his sons needed to be informed. With a determined expression, Xavier's sons were in the house. He raised his voice, urgently calling out for Marcus and Sebastian. "Marcus, Sebastian, his urgent voice echoed through the corridors. Inside their rooms, both Marcus and Sebastian stirred, roused from their sleep by their father's urgent call. They quickly sat up, their senses on high alert. Running out of their rooms, hurried to the living room. "Father, what's going on?" They responded almost simultaneously, their voices tinged with concern. Xavier's tone was serious as he replied, "Boys, turn to the TV. There's something you need to see." In moments, both Marcus and Sebastian turned to the TV, their eyes fixed on the screen as the news anchors discussed the shocking incident involving Ninetails-WOLF, a fellow student from Silvermoon High and a player in the recent basketball game against Crossville Academy. The gravity of the situation was evident in Xavier's voice as he continued, "Your sister Daniela went off last night, and she went berserk. You both were out looking for her." "Yeah, Father," Marcus said solemnly. "We were out looking for her, but we lost sight of her." Xavier nodded, acknowledging their efforts. "That's when I howled for you to come back home." Sebastian chimed in, his voice reflecting their shared concern. "Yeah, we came back home immediately after hearing your call." Xavier's gaze was steady, his concern mirrored in his son's eyes. "And as for Daniela, she's asleep for now." Scarlett Jolene, Xavier's wife, stepped into the room, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern. Following closely behind her was Sophia Jolene, their youngest daughter, who looked bewildered by the sudden commotion. "Xavier, what's happening?" Scarlett asked, her voice laced with worry. Xavier glanced at his wife, his gaze conveying the gravity of the situation. "It's about Ninetails-WOLF, a student from Silvermoon High. He was attacked last night, and it's all over the news." Scarlett Jolene listened to Xavier's explanation with a mixture of concern and surprise. Her brows furrowed as she processed the information. "Berserk," she repeated, her voice soft yet filled with worry. "But she's she's always been in control." Xavier nodded, his expression mirroring her concern. "I know, Scarlett, that's why this is so puzzling. Something triggered her, and we need to find out what it was." Sophia, who had been listening with wide eyes, spoke up, her voice tinged with fear. "Is Daniela okay now?" Xavier exchanged a glance with his sons before turning back to Sophia. "She's home and asleep for now," he assured her, "but we need to talk to her when she wakes up." Scarlett stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on Sophia's shoulder. "We'll get to the bottom of this, Sophia," she said softly, her eyes warm with maternal comfort. "Your father and brothers are going to make sure of that." As Daniela slowly woke up, a throbbing headache greeted her, causing her to groan softly. Blinking her eyes open, she found herself in her room, bathed in the soft morning light. Confusion washed over her as she tried to piece together the events of the previous night. The last thing she remembered was being out in the city with her brothers, Marcus and Sebastian, in their werewolf forms. Her memory was like a puzzle with missing pieces, leaving her feeling disoriented and uneasy. She pushed herself into a sitting position, rubbing her temples in an attempt to ease the ache in her head. Her mind raced as she struggled to recall what had happened after their midnight run. Curiosity and concern gnawed at her, and she realized that she needed answers. The sound of voices drifted into her room from the living room, and she could sense an air of tension in the house. Pushing aside her own discomfort, Daniela swung her legs over the edge of the bed and stood up, wrapping a blanket around herself. She hesitated for a moment, taking a deep breath to steady herself before she made her way to the living room. As she entered the room, she found her family gathered there, her parents, Xavier and Scarlett, her younger sister Sophia, and her brothers Marcus and Sebastian. Their expressions were a mix of concern and relief upon seeing her. "Daniela," Xavier's voice held a mixture of sternness and worry. "We need to talk." Xavier's acute senses picked up on a distinct scent, a metallic tang that wasn't there before. His eyes narrowed as he noticed a trace of dried blood around her mouth. "Daniela, you're awake," Scarlett said, her voice a mixture of relief and concern. Sophia's eyes widened as she caught sight of her sister. "You're covered in dirt and is that blood?" Xavier's instincts kicked in, and his gaze sharpened as he studied Daniela. "Daniela, are you all right?" Daniela's heart pounded as she met her father's gaze. She could tell that something significant had occurred, something related to her actions last night. Her own lack of memory left her feeling vulnerable and exposed. I don't remember," she admitted, her voice tinged with both confusion and frustration. "The last thing I remember is being with Marcus and Sebastian in the city. After that, it's all a blank." Xavier's gaze softened, and he exchanged a glance with Scarlett before returning his attention to Daniela. "You went berserk, Daniela. Your brothers couldn't keep up, you were so fast, and then disappeared. Your brothers lost sight of you, and we've been worried sick." Shock rippled through Daniela as she absorbed her father's words. Berserk? It was a term associated with loss of control, something she had never experienced before. She looked around at her family, seeing the concern etched in their expressions. I didn't mean to, she stammered, her voice filled with a mixture of guilt and fear. I don't know what happened. I've never felt like that before. Her mother stepped forward, her eyes full of compassion. We believe you, sweetheart, Scarlett said gently, her arms open in an inviting gesture. Xavier's voice softened as well. We'll figure this out, Daniela. We're here for you. As the conversation continued in the living room, Daniela's attention was drawn to the television. The news anchor's voice filled the room, reporting the animal attack on Ninetails-WOLF. Her eyes widened in shock as she heard his name mentioned, her heart racing with a mixture of confusion and concern. Wait, Bajil? Daniela exclaimed, her voice trembling as she pointed to the TV screen. They're talking about Bajil being attacked? Xavier's gaze shifted from the TV to Daniela, his expression a mix of concern and curiosity. Daniela, do you know anything about this? Were you near Bajil during the attack? Daniela's mind raced as she tried to piece together the fragments of her memory from the previous night. I was with Marcus and Sebastian in the city, but I don't remember anything after that. Why would they be talking about me? Sophia's eyes widened as she looked between Daniela and the TV screen. Maybe you saw something, or maybe you were involved. Daniela's hands trembled as she stared at the TV, her thoughts a jumble of confusion and fear. Involved? No, I couldn't have. I don't even remember what happened. Overwhelmed by her emotions, Daniela burst into tears and dropped to the ground, her mind racing with questions and self-doubt. She found herself asking if she could have been the one responsible for the attack on Bajil, even though her memories were hazy and fragmented. As Daniela grappled with her thoughts, a sudden burst of movement and energy filled the room. The front door swung open with a force that startled everyone present. In walked Elijah Jolene, the respected grandfather of Xavier Jolene and a former leader of the Silvercrest clan. His presence commanded attention, his stature a reminder of the powerful lineage that Daniela and her family belonged to. Scarlett Jolene, Xavier's wife, surprise, her concern evident as she saw Elijah enter the room. Elijah, what brings you here? She inquired, her voice mix of curiosity and respect. Elijah's gaze met Scarlett's, his eyes carrying intensity, the urgency in his voice. The news, Scarlett, he replied, his tone laced with a mixture of gravity and concern. The attack on Bajil. It's spreading like wildfire across the city. I rushed here as soon as I heard. His eyes shifted to his son Xavier, a silent exchange of understanding passing between them. Elijah's presence signaled that the situation was serious. His eyes swept across the room, his gaze settling on Daniela. Without a word, he approached her, his expression a blend of understanding and compassion. He knelt beside her, his weathered hand resting gently on her shoulder. Child, I sensed your turmoil, he spoke softly, his voice carrying the weight of wisdom and age. Daniela wiped her tears, her gaze locking onto Elijah's. Grandfather, she said, her voice wavering, I don't know what happened. I was with Marcus and Sebastian last night, but my memories are foggy. Elijah's eyes held a depth of compassion as he regarded Daniela. Foggy memories often hold the key to revelations, he responded cryptically. Xavier stepped forward. Father, let me explain, he began, his voice steady. Last night, Daniela went out with her brothers, Marcus and Sebastian. They were in their werewolf forms, but something triggered Daniela. She went berserk, lost control. Marcus and Sebastian couldn't stop her, and she ran off into the city. Elijah's brows furrowed, concern etching lines on his withered face. Berserk? But why? What triggered her? He inquired, his focus sharp as he absorbed the information. Elijah's deep voice resonated through the room as he spoke, his words carrying a weight of wisdom and experience. Xavier, there is something inherently mysterious about this situation, something that goes beyond the surface. All these events seem to converge around this young man, Ninetails-WOLF. Xavier furrowed his brows, his expression a mix of concern and curiosity. What do you mean, Father? What could possibly tie these seemingly unrelated events together? Elijah's eyes held a knowing glint as he replied, the universe often weaves a complex tapestry, revealing connections that aren't immediately obvious. Bajil's attack, Daniela's sudden frenzy, they are threads that are interwoven, forming a pattern that we must decipher. Scarlett, who had been listening attentively, interjected, her voice laced with thoughtfulness. Do you think this could be a premonition of something larger, something that has been dormant for ages? Elijah turned his gaze to Scarlett, acknowledging her insight. Indeed, my dear. Our kind has long known that certain events can serve as harbingers of greater changes. Perhaps this is one of those moments. Xavier nodded slowly, absorbing his father and wife's words. You think there's more to Bajil than meets the eye? Could he be a key to unraveling this mystery? Elijah's gaze was unwavering. It's possible, Xavier. Concern and curiosity flickered in their eyes as they heard of the incident, prompting them to investigate further. As Bajil lay in the hospital, his injuries being tended to by nurses and doctors, he became the focal point not only among the students but also among the hidden world of werewolves. The events of that fateful night had sparked the curiosity of those who had long kept their supernatural existence hidden from the human realm. Little did Bajil know that his life was about to take an extraordinary turn. The attack had awakened a dormant power within him, and it would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge his understanding of the world and his own identity.